All right, guys, this is the power focus area of linear and exponential functions, Objective 2. This is the second video for Objective 2. So you're going to see a question on your quiz that's going to ask you which equation matches the line that passes through the points 2, -3, and 12, 2. So you have to pick out which of these equations matches that line. And here's how you're going to do it. So each of these ordered pairs, if you remember, the first number is always your x value and the second is always your y. So again, x value and y. And what you're going to do is you're going to plug in these x and y values into each of these equations and see which one works. So let's try this first equation. So, and also our first point. So we're going to do the y, we're going to plug in -3. And I put everything in parentheses too when I plug it in. And then I have 2, and instead of x, we're going to plug in 2. That's our first ordered pair up here. And then we have a +3. If you solve this out and simply just putting it in your calculator, 2 times 2 is 4, and then 4 plus 3 is 7. Does 7 equal -3? No. So that point doesn't work already. I would move on to the next equation and see if it's going to work. So let's try our next equation here. Y equals 1/2 x minus 4. And we're going to do the same thing. My y, I'm going to plug in -3. If you remember, that was our y value. So I'm putting in -3, again in parentheses. Then I have 1/2. And instead of x, I'm now going to put in 2, because that was our x value. And then -4. And again, if you put it in your calculator just like this, 1/2 times 2 is 1, -4 is -3. So does -3 equal -3? Yes, that checks out. But you have to, there's 2 points given to us. So you have to try both points. So I know my first point works with this equation. Let's try my second point. So I'm going to do the same thing. So now for this point, my y value is 2. So I'm going to put 2 in for y equals, then I have 1/2, and my x value for this point is 12. So 12 in for x, and then there's a -4. Plugs in your calculator. 1/2 times 12 is 6, and 6 minus 4 is 2. So I get 2 equals 2, which that works. So I just found an equation right here. When I plug both of these points in, that works. So if this is a multiple choice question, this would be your answer. All right, you might also see a question that looks something like this, where it's asking you to find the equation of a line with a slope of -6 and it passes through a point of -1, -4. So this is our form of equation, y equals mx plus b. And if you remember, the m represents slope, and the b represents your y-intercept. Well, from our question, they already gave us the slope of -6, right? So we already have the y equals -6x because they gave us -6 slope, but we're still missing our b. So how we find that is we use this point they gave us, -1, -4. We plug that in to find our b value. So again, the first number is always our x value, and the second is always our y. So let's plug those in for x and y. So in our equation, y is -4, and then equals, and then we still have this -6, and our x is now -1, and we're trying to find b, so we kind of leave b at the end. If we solve this, -6 times -1 is going to give me a +6. Bring all the rest down. And I want to get b by itself, so I want to solve for b. So I'm going to move this 6 by subtraction. And then I do this to the other side as well. So what I'm left with is these two cancel out. -4 minus -6, I'm going to write it over here, is -10. My equal sign, and that equals b. So now I'm going to kind of put it all together. So remember, I started with this equation. It's still going to be y equals -6x, but instead of b, I know that b equals a -10, so I can put that in for b. So this becomes the equation you just made by given a slope and then 1 point.